This computer. Okay. This is 50, right?
Yes.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to Free Market's Green Earth, episode number 50. I am Nicky P here, as always, with Ben, the Liberty Hippie. How you doing there, Ben?
I'm doing all right. Nikki, how you doing?
Not doing great. Barely awake. You woke me up because I forgot, or didn't really forget. I fell asleep, I should say. I was researching a topic, and then I passed out.
That's yeah. I let you do all the hard work, so
I guess. And then when I woke up to find out that because it's getting warm up here, Liz is actually sleeping in the studio, so I am recording this under duress, very uncomfortably in her studio, which is not designed for a big man like me. So we're gonna have a light, short episode today. Is the idea?
Yeah.
And you sent me a good topic, anyways. It's one that's on everyone's been talking about, and honestly, it's been a little bit frustrating for me personally because I kind of dislike the way that people have been talking about it, which is the CHAZ.
CHAZ, dun.
More importantly, the gardening at the CHAZ. So
yeah, it's there.
For those who don't know, the CHAZ, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, which I've also heard has been now relabeled the CHOP. Have you heard anything about that yet?
I have not. What does that?
I am not even entirely sure, but the idea being it's a rebrand, and I think it has something to do with like the Capitol Hill organized protest.
Okay.
Which I think is because they know that they're not going to be there forever.
Well, autonomous zone implies so much that they're not doing. Like they're still connected to, I'm sure, the electric and the water and everything else. It's not really autonomous, but
yeah. I mean, as a protest, I certainly understand it.
Yeah.
As a sustainable place, that wouldn't make any sense.
No. Yeah, but it's a curious thing, and it's not what we're here to talk about. But I mean,
it's hard to ignore.
As much as I want to like crap all over it, and like it's really interesting to see it happening, right? Because I think this is what people talk about, right? Secession, break down to your local communities, and that's what you're seeing, whether you agree with what they're on about or not. It's neither here nor there. It's happening. Right, it's happening, and so what can we learn from it? What do we see? What reactions are we getting from local and federal government? How is it playing out? I think that's the bigger, interesting take to get from it all.
I think the first thing that we get is that us ANCAPs are right to not jump right now, because we need to have more people behind us. Like our numbers need to be bigger before this is even an idea, and I think that's one thing that they're kind of going to end up learning the hard way is that, whatever your beliefs are, I don't mind that they did what they did. I wouldn't agree with the method by which they did it, but to a certain degree, I feel like they haven't been left with much choice.
Yeah.
But ultimately, there's not enough of them to do anything worthwhile in the main, in the large picture of things. Like they're there because they live in one of the most insanely liberal cities in the world, and the mayor said they're allowed to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In other words, the mayor stole all that property, not necessarily them.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting study, and I've heard that there's other communities that are trying to do the same thing. Most of them, I think, are being shut down before they can get started. I think it was in Tennessee, maybe one in Asheville, but the one in Tennessee, like the I don't know if it was the mayor or the governor was like, not going to happen. They kind of got ahead of the ball.
Well, one of the things that like people have joked about is when the mayor came out and said, well, it's basically been an autonomous zone all this time anyways. And the fact of the matter is from everything I can tell and everything I've seen in there, I mean, she's not lying. Like, this is basically like the uber liberal part of the city that's basically behind the thing, behind the protest. And well, I don't think most of them probably expect it to last forever. They're kind of okay waiting it out and seeing what happens because it's for a good cause, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Great
So,
cause.
you
Great cause.
know, all of that aside, the thing that I really want to touch on today is the gardens, or the gardens as they're called.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Give me your first, your position on the gardens, because I'm sure it's going to be, for the most part, the pretty standard thing. I'm going to be the outlier in this one.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot there, right? Because I think it's tough. It's tough because on one hand, you go with what are these people that are doing this always crying out about and always fighting and um, you know, where do they come from? Most of them are well educated. You got your liberal arts degree, and it's all about the fields. And when it comes time to garden and provide for yourself, a lot of thought has not been put into, where do my tomatoes come from? I don't drink milk because I don't want to rape cows, but where does my wheat come from? How do I make bread? All this stuff. I don't think people necessarily think about it, and especially in that sort of enclave of mindset there. But so there's that part of it. And when you look at some of the pictures, I mean, you have to know that it's probably not all of the pictures. It's the one that everybody latched onto because it just looks absurd and it looks ridiculous. Um, and there's, I think, multiple reasons for that. It probably does look absurd and ridiculous. Like you said, it's not permanent, so you kind of have to, when you're building a garden, it's not permanent. So I'm not going to do these other 10 things that I might do if it is permanent. And I think it gives a fine slant to things, right? When look at these disorganized people that want to break away from everything and how they can't even grow their own food type idea. And I think there's some of that
Well, I mean,
underlying as
that's that
well.
big thing with everyone. It makes it it informs your biases to see things that particular way.
Yeah.
You sent me actually a really good article on it. They basically basically agreed with my biases, we'll just say, and what I kind of thought was going on. Number one, I cannot believe that anyone there actually expects this to last for the length of time for a crop to grow. Like, there's no fucking way that's going to happen.
It probably won't, but I don't know. I'm sure there are people that believe that, and where it's happening, I could see that being allowed. I could even see these gardens being allowed to continue on after the dust settles and become
Oh no,
community gardens or something.
I see the city would let them. There's no fucking way
Right.
that the federal government is going to allow that, because that's an image that they can't keep lasting forever. I think it's politically useful right now for them to get things that they want, and I think there's a slow lurch until it's going to actually happen.
I mean, if it wasn't, it's an election year, and I don't think Trump could could really quash that. I think there would be.
Oh no, I think
And
he's going to, and I think it's going to get him crazy ratings.
you
Because
think
the
so?
fact of the matter is, most people are not hyper leftists. They believe in most of that stuff, like maybe let's take care
I
of the
guess.
poor. But most people want law and order. Like, that's what got Reagan elected, that kind of shit. Like,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
want someone who's going to make sure they're safe. And if anyone can just roll into your town and take it over, like, you don't feel safe. So unless you're a hyper leftist, you like, and you expect that it's going to be hyper leftists to come in, because it could just easily be right wingers. What happens when the rest
Right.
of our ANCAP buddies see this? Hey, it's kind of working. Fuck, let's do it our own way.
Yeah.
Let's go do it
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. No,
Regardless of what we think about it, the fact of the matter is that the guy who actually did the gardens has spoken, and basically, kind of agrees with my position that no, he never intended them to feed all of the
right.
people. He did it as a I don't want to say art installation, but mostly as a think piece.
Right.
For the first off, the guy does know what the hell he's doing. He's got like a
Yeah, what's it? Degree in something from
let me see here. His name
someplace.
is it's in here. His name.
Marcus Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
That's his name. And he oh man, where'd it go? Yeah.
He's
If
got
you're curious,
an
there's some
energy resources degree from Stanford
that's right.
University and a master's degree in sustainability in the urban environment and years of working experience in sustainable agriculture.
Yeah, I mean, he's you go look at if you look at his Instagram, there are some things that he's done. A lot of it's really old, but it gives you the idea that like he knows what he's doing. It looks like he's building houses like straw bale houses and stuff like that, and he's aware of these things.
Well, the first thing that I noticed that everyone picks on is that, oh, look at those dipshits! Look at the dirt on top of cardboard. And as I'm thinking, well, that's the first layer of a lasagna garden, and that's exactly what's in my backyard growing food right now. And maybe it's not the most ideal thing, but most soils that are left right now aren't ideal soils. They've been fucked over for years. So the idea that like that's the most insane thing, it immediately pisses me off. It's like, okay, well, am I a fucking idiot over here? Like, I don't know what I can grow.
And that's it, like trying to start a garden out of grass is very hard. You have to remove the grass and all that sod and all that topsoil that goes with it. It's not always a great thing. If you can manage to leave all that stuff down and kill it, you put all that cardboard and dirt on top of it and other layers of cardboard, like that'll kill the grass, and that allows you to keep all that soil and all that stuff there. And I forget who it was. I saw somebody, larger, I don't know if it's a blue check mark or not, but somebody kind of criticizing them for the cardboard. I was like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about at all. But
well, like I said, to me the cardboard is amusing in that I really don't see anything being there long enough for that to do what it's supposed to do. But once again, if you go back into what Marcus, the guy who did it, actually said, like his whole thing was, he clearly this is not going to support enough people to be here and like be a resource for food. That's not its point. One of the things being, like, if you pay attention, apparently the city, being a dumbass government, had gone out and mowed circles for social distancing in their fucking park. And so there's, and this part I love, honestly, like he planted fucking gardens in those circles. I mean, to me, I can't think of a bigger middle finger of the government telling you where you're allowed to stand than planting a fucking garden where they tell you you're allowed to stand and say, no, I'm going to stand over here next to where you told me to stand and plant shit where you told me to stand. Fuck you.
Yeah. I there's an appreciation for that, I think, at least for me. It's kind of a unique way of handling it, right? Of making a statement and doing something that's productive too. That maybe they will come and tear all that stuff up, but probably gonna stay.
Else, everyone who goes by there and starts asking questions, like they're gonna learn something they didn't know about gardening. Like, because with everyone picking on it and harassing it, like I've definitely had to set people straight. Like, no, what? Yeah, it may look stupid, but that's like a legitimate gardening method that people use. Like, as he said, he'd gone through and actually poked holes for all the seeds so that he could actually get to the topsoil, which would make it less likely that less necessary for all of that cardboard to rot away quite yet. And he planted underneath, but where it's still going to kill off the topsoil eventually.
Yeah, and even then, man, like, dude, plants. Go look at a parking lot. Plants grow through concrete. They grow through pavement. Like the root structure on a plant will do amazing things to soil. And
I was talking to a dude today.
Wet cardboard is.
Few things are as impressive to me. Like, I love watching very few things as much as I love watching reclaimed cityscapes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I love watching abandoned buildings and seeing how quickly they go to pot.
It's amazing. It's wild. It's absolutely wild.
We think we're the shit until you see how quickly nature will reclaim its shit. when we're
Yeah,
gone.
for real. I mean, there's a couple houses down the road here that have, people. I think they went up for sale in a tax auction. I don't know if anybody bought them or whatever, but in just like 5 years, the roof has fallen in. The vines are now in and out of the windows. Like it's just in another 5-10 years, it's just going to be a mound of kudzu and other trees and vines and muscadine vines and just growing through, and you're not even going to know that something was there except unless you knew.
Well, look at a parking lot. Leave a parking lot vacant for
Yeah.
like just a year or two,
Yep.
and see how quickly you don't have a parking lot anymore. Like
Yeah.
that, like whatever was there before is gonna find a crack, and it's gonna start growing back. And once it does, once all it's got to do is find a crack, and next thing that crack is a foot wide,
Yeah.
and that the root system to whatever starts growing there starts breaking up every piece of that blacktop, and it's doesn't take long. Within a decade, like it's just a dream of a parking
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. It's wild. It's amazing to watch how nature does that. But yeah, I do.
Everyone should totally go and help me form a group for what do you call it, for uh, abandoned places. Sorry, I'm still not quite awake yet. I'd love to share abandoned places with our people.
Yeah.
Old
There's
amusement parks and stuff like that. Me and Irma will just watch YouTube videos of like top 15 abandoned amusement parks or top 15 abandoned cities, because there's some really interesting like abandoned and like large scale abandoned places on the
yeah.
planet. Well, like
Yeah.
there's the one that's the most haunting to me is this crazy island, I think in Japan. Like if you've seen it, it's got like these round homes.
Is that the Rabbit Island?
I have no idea, but the idea behind it was like they were building it, and then it got hit. It had like crazy problems with construction, and then like halfway through, like got hit by a tsunami, and they just never bothered to go back. So like
Yeah.
they started building this city, and then I think it was also something like the population kind of changed. Like I think this Japan's population stopped growing at the rate it was, and it just became unnecessary.
All right.
And like travel untenable, so they said fuck it, and like just left the entire city just kind of hanging out there.
That's crazy. That's wild.
It
Yeah.
is, man. And you just watch it, like one of these days that whole city is just gonna fall into the ocean from where it is.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, too, about what what was here before, I like to think we're the first ones here or whatever, but I mean, you see how much nature eats things.
Well, for the most part, what's
It
what
wouldn't
been
take long.
20,000 years that human beings have been like human beings.
Yeah.
I mean, there could have been a lot of grow and swallow in that time period. We
Yeah,
already
for
know that
real.
there have been some pretty advanced cultures on the earth. So, what's to say that like they didn't just, oh, I don't know, decide to endlessly partition off and segregated themselves into oblivion, and then eventually were grown over by nature, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, we're seeing that all over now, I think, with all the different imaging that they have looking down at the, I don't know, the Mayans or the Aztecs and down there, and Southeast Asia, all the jungle that has grown up over everything. It's wild. But
Which, once again, no matter what anyone says, you're gonna really have to prove to me how bad global warming is for the earth when it makes shit thrive. Like,
yeah.
even if it's real, folks, come on. Like,
Yeah.
the
No,
earth seems to really enjoy it. Some species may not, but earth really does.
that's all it boils down to. What species appreciate it, which ones don't, I think, or one that probably doesn't appreciate it as much as some others, but
Well, you'd say that, but
move
dude,
on.
go read the moral case for fossil fuels. Like, it's not like we've been dying off since it happened. The fact of the matter is, as human beings suck at ice ages.
Yeah, I
Everything
wonder.
grows better in warmer temperatures.
It does. It does to a degree. To a degree. I think some of it would depend on how much land mass is in the the zones that will become habitable through global warming that are not necessarily habitable now. Northern Canada kind of thing, but things around the equator and stuff probably get too
The
hot to
thing is,
grow too much. But
it's not like you can't fight desertification. Like that's something you can actually fight. And there's been reclaimed desert all over the world over the years. So
yeah.
I'm not saying it's easy, but if you want to do it, you can do it. Moreover, let's just say one of our most famous cities here in the U.S. is in the middle of a fucking desert and makes nothing for itself.
Yeah.
But we have such a crazy infrastructure here in the U.S. and so much opulence that we can actually grow cities in the desert.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of it comes down to, right? Like we have the technology to handle those things, right? To reclaim, to make use in those areas. And even the same, even I think like if there was an ice age, like you still figure out ways. It might be harder to grow food, but
Oh,
I'm
did
sure
I
that
not
there would be
send you that
ways to.
video?
I don't know what video.
You never heard of the Ice Age Farmer?
No.
It's an actual dude called the Ice Age Farmer, and I mean, there's a lot of people that predict we're headed into like
Yeah.
world cycles. We're headed into a new one.
Right.
Which, by the way, all of our global warming may be enough to take the chill off of that and make it not as bad as it is if that's the case.
Could be
But
interesting.
But he's specifically planning for that end.
Yeah. I'll have to go check
It's
that
weird.
out.
How did we get to this this topic off of the chats?
Learning, I think learning, nature reclaiming. I don't know. I do think though, like the conversation that it will start, and even if it's just people dogging them from the outside, but people on the inside, people that are there seeing this happen, that maybe have never grown anything in their life, that their backyard is just turf. Maybe they might try something like that.
Dude, and there's nothing to be said for a hard lesson. If it
Yeah.
fails, then those people all learn. Maybe not the funnest way imaginable, but they learn, oh shit.
Yeah.
Maybe this growing thing is harder than we expected, and we need to fucking learn more.
And
Which everyone can use
it
that
is.
information.
It is. Yeah. And that's what's great, like it does it. It's yeah. I don't know, man. It's been an interesting experiment to watch how it all kind of has just panned out. People, we need this, we need that. You get donations here, donations there, and then this disappears and that disappears, and well, you don't have any sort of authority figure or something to kind of make decisions. When you leave decision making in the hands of people, it just kind of
And let's
deteriorates
remember,
very quickly.
for the most part, the people so while the people organizing this shit are adults, the people actually out there, from everything I can tell, they're not adults, they're kids.
No.
And they don't have the experience that a you or I does. They haven't seen what we've seen. So to expect them to go out and like completely remake society carte blanche is kind of silly.
But they're not, right? They're not. They're just pawns. They're just being used. It's a op. It's all. It's meant for political purposes. You look at where it's all being funded from, and it's like, oh, that's what this is about. But
what I'm gonna
that's me being jaded, I guess.
What I'm gonna say is, I hope I would laugh my ass off if by next week they've already got some nice tomato plants sprouting up in those circles.
Oh, I'm sure somebody will donate some, right? Home Depot will donate some, or
I think I've already seen some.
have
But my
you?
point is, I'd like to see the ones that are actually there actually start growing and just say fuck off to everyone around them.
Yeah, it would be interesting. It would be kind of
like all the detractors.
Yep. Yeah, and that's it is. It's such a. It's I don't want to say upsetting, because it's not upsetting, but like seeing some people like kind of really criticize it for reasons that it doesn't need to be criticized. Like criticize it because like they're communist. It's all about socialism, and they're I don't know. They're not criticizing it for the right reasons. I feel like it's that.
I mean, I get it a little bit, like, because it looks so much like all the shit that you expect to go wrong with communism.
Well, and that's it. Yeah.
So it's so easy to, I guess, point and laugh at it, but I don't
And
see
that's
the
it, but
value in it. I don't.
I think there's that bigger underlying message is one that we should all kind of pay attention to and watch and learn from, and in a way cheer it on. It's not where I want to end up, but in my world, like, that would be okay because you can do that over there and I'm going to do what I need to do over here.
Exactly.
And we can all get along like that.
So,
Huh.
all right. Well, my legs are falling asleep because Liz's studio sucks for me. Thanks for hanging out here on episode 50, everybody. I guess I want to end this episode by saying, hey, don't be a dick. It doesn't do anybody any good. Certainly not helping convert anybody over to our position.
Yeah.
And if it's a hard lesson, they'll learn the hard lesson, sadly.
Yeah, it shall be learned, no doubt about that. But
So,
all right. Well,
all right, man.
y'all
You
have a
take
good
it
one.
easy.
Peace.
Sorry. freemarketscreenearth.com, folks. Go check it out. Peace.
All right, buddy. All right. All right. I'll get this over to you.